Now, one obvious thing I've left out of this simple model so far is the fact that loans actually expand over time and get repaid as well as growing over time. I've got no repayment going on there. So let's just say we want to add repayment into the system. All I need to do is I'll just bring this down so you can see what happens to the icon at the top. If I click here and add an additional row called repay loans, that's just a sort of labels, by the way, then what you're going to have in this case is the amount of money coming out of the deposit account of the firm and going into and reducing the amount of the loan. Making sure that's correct. And another thing I've left out, of course, I simply have the firm sector being the one doing all the borrowing and so on. What about looking at them having shareholders that they pay dividends to? So this is now a new liability, and I'll call this shareholders. That'll do, shareholders. And then what I need to have as well there is to have, we've got to pay dividends to shareholders. So it's going to be a flow of div from here becoming minus div over here, and then of course they're going to consume as well. So you're going to have consumption by shareholders turning up in the accounts of the firm sector. Okay, and that's all pretty much rapidly done. I'd need to go through and define what repayment is and define what dividends are, but that's how fast I can add those extra elements to Minsky. Now if I take a look at what that generates in terms of the equations, let's just take a look at that and call this 07 check down here. I misnamed that, but anyway, OY, I'll rename it over here. Okay, and let's take a look at those equations. We'll build this viewer into Minsky at a later stage, but that's just, again, something else we're going to add. This is looking at it from my favorite tech processing engine called Bacoma Tech. So look at that. Okay, those are the equations. So now what I've got, I've added in, as you can see, shareholders dividend minus consumption, and then firms getting the reverse sign over here, and repayment turning up as well in the lending. So I haven't refined repayment yet, but if I did, I'd then have those terms being extracted from it. Well, let's do that quickly. So repayment, copy that. Now let's say this sort of repayment related to the amount of money in the firm's account. So make a copy of that and say that there's some rate of repay. So I'll call this repay, and let's say you repay it at 5% per annum versus a 10% growth rate. Then if I then multiply those two together, and then stop and go back and start the system again, then I've got slightly modified dynamics, not quite as radical rate of growth, of course, because loans, some of the loans are being repaid, the economy is not growing as rapidly. Now that's how easy it was to do in Minsky. I'd be here quite a while, and I will record that, seeing how long it will take me to add that to VisSim.